What in the hell is that? You good with that?
Yeah.
Because I could shape it more.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. If that comes out, then you don't need technique to make sourdough bread.
But welcome back to You Enjoy Life. And as you probably saw, Mike and I, for the first time in 4 years after leaving Brothers Green, made a video together. Now, most of the video is on Mike's channel, which you can check out in Pro Home Cooks. But there was one segment that felt like it needed its own experience on sourdough, and I decided to put it on my channel. So recently I flew out to Long Island to film some stuff with Mike. I hadn't made a video together in so long, but even though we kind of went our separate ways and had our creative differences and things we wanted to explore, what's been cool is there's been like an interesting convergence with our interests, homesteading, growing our own food, being more connected to nature. So I recently put out a book about fermentation. I was excited about it, so I flew over there and we've been filming a bunch of stuff and wanted to share with you guys just some experiments and things. But the video specifically on sourdough, like I said, felt like it needed its own world. And the general idea, which we'll share in a moment, is to see all the beliefs around sourdough. People think, oh, this is the way to do it, or this is how it needs to be done, or you need to have this or that. We wanted to challenge a lot of that, as I love to do. There's so many beliefs out there, and people get stuck in their ways. And what happens when you break down the barriers of belief and start to actually experience what you have, and instead of just trusting people blindly, figuring out things for yourself?
All right, so we have two starters here. This is straight from Colorado.
Smuggled it in on the plane.
Yeah, and I've smuggled sourdough starter before. And this is my starter from right here in Long Island. Now Josh has fed this starter. And the whole point of this segment is to really, I guess, try to debunk the myth of sourdough starters.
Yeah, a lot of people say like, oh, I've had this starter for 500 years and people will buy them expensive on the internet, but does it actually matter? Or does wherever you are really affect you?
Yeah, what I found is all the microbes in the environment is the most important factor. It doesn't matter if your starter's 1 million years old. And we're gonna make
2 million.
And we're gonna make the exact same sourdough bread with a Colorado starter and a Long Island starter and see if there's any flavor. So we're gonna start off with just a base of 800 grams of bread flour. The only difference is I've been feeding my starter with spelt. That's why it's got this coloring. So to balance that out, since Josh's is all bread flour, he's gonna do 700 grams of bread flour and 100 grams of spelt.
So I was thinking.
So
What hydration are we talking?
I think like 75.
Okay.
Just, keep it workable.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do 800 grams. The only difference in our recipes is that I've been feeding this with some spelt flour, my starter. So to balance things out, so we're gonna do 800 grams of flour. We're gonna do 800 grams base of bread flour. The only difference is I've been feeding my starter with spelt flour. Hold on, let me do that again and just get the focus. So we're gonna start off with just a base of 800 grams of bread flour. The only difference is I've been feeding my starter with spelt. That's why it's got this coloring. So to balance that out, since Josh's is all bread flour, he's gonna do 700 grams of bread flour and 100 grams of spelt. Okay, so 800, go for it. Two percent. Oh yeah, and then just get that. Here.
It's a nice knife. Yeah. I feel like you could just give it a little shave.
With this thing?
It has that feeling of like,
$100. do like 2% salt. Ooh, let me see what that was. I don't know where you were at, but
I was at 800.
exactly.
Yeah. It's $7.99.
I just don't want to like overdo the salt.
I made my first loaf the other day. I forgot salt. It's very strange eating sourdough without salt.
I've done that before. You know, that's like a traditional Tuscan style bread because they have like a salt embargo or something where they don't salt their bread in Tuscany. And it's very weird. It's like you really taste the bread.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy. Like it's definitely not as fun, but you taste. It's like you taste the grain.
Yeah, you need to do a lot of post-salting. Although I found it worked well with sweeter things. Like when I was putting jam on it, that was interesting.
Interesting.
Although salt is still good with sweet things.
Okay. Going with the starter. Oops, fucker. It doesn't matter.
This is already... We're just having fun at this point. Do you find with like starter, do you see that if you add like too much starter, do you find that can be a problem? Or is it just kind of...
I've been adding a lot of starter recently. Like that, like I've been going heavy on the starter more than I normally do, and I find that I've been getting great results. So I don't know. I think it just changed the timing too of things. Yeah. What do you find?
Yeah, I don't really measure my bread anymore. I just kind of like mix everything together. Okay. So it's always a little. How much are we doing here?
Just I'm interested in seeing.
Just seeing like what.
Yeah, probably like 250. Yeah. Cool.
The only thing that sometimes happens to me when I'm improvising bread is that in the fridge, if I put it in the bowl before like shaping it, it blows up too much. Like if I've let it rise for too long, but it still again makes a great bread. No matter what I've done, I always get a great bread.
It's the key.
I think that having a good starter is the only thing that matters.
Good starter.
Like an active, happy starter.
Yeah, I agree. If you're getting into sourdough, having a good starter and so I would say having a good starter, number one. Number two is understanding fermentation times, like how long things should proof, and we'll show you a trick for that. Okay.
You will, I don't know.
Char. So we're gonna do 75% hydration on these babies to keep things that's a good, I find, middle ground. So it's not too hard to form. 875 is like 620 maybe, I think. All right, 620 grams. As long as it's the same. Okay. Switch that off with mine. Come on, do I have enough water? No. Oops. There we go. We'll mix it up. So,
Hand-ski, or you got a thing?
It's up to you. I mean, you can go hand. I'll go dough whisk.
There's a thing that I've seen, like Sandra Cass talks about this a lot with certain types of ferments, but getting your hand in there also introduces some microbes and things.
Which makes a lot of sense. Yeah. You definitely carry a lot of bacteria and microbes on your hands.
Me specifically? Like, how do you feel with in this world today, there's so much fear around bacteria and mold.
Yeah.
The words are just
How do I feel about it?
Yeah, what's your experience of that?
I mean, I'm pretty relaxed, but I think it's kind of everyone's own, you know, personal. I think people have gotten a little crazy. Like, obviously, we've been, you know, back in the day, people were making fermented things and all the time to survive, and I'm sure the worry of that was dramatically less. But then who knows, maybe people were dying more. I don't know. So I tend to not worry too much.
I also find
as much as the normal.
I find with fermentation, there's usually like pretty obvious signs. You know, there might be exceptions, but if something's gone wrong, it's like,
it smells bad or it looks really. But at the same time, it's hard to say that because when people, when you get into fermentation, it's like a little scary because you think an obvious sign might be like some white yeast on the top of something. So
yeah. When I talk about this in the book, but Jeremy, when I was like freshly getting into fermentation, he was talking about the difference between like something that is funky and something that is rotten, and like learning that line of something can be really funky, like a funky cheese.
Yeah.
But if something's rotten, it's gonna smell like death.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so we'll let these kind of chill, and
the hardest part about making bread is cleaning.
yeah.
To me, it's the hardest step of sourdough.
Well, there's ways to keep it.
Yeah.
That's why I don't use my hands. All right, so we're gonna start the stretch and fold process. Do you do it in the?
Yeah.
Okay, I do it outside.
Yeah,
Big difference there.
Teach me your ways.
No, you can
do my
stick
way?
to your way just to show the difference.
So the only thing that's exact is just the ingredients then. So we've let the dough rest for 30 minutes. I tend to just like work with it, kind of bring it up, start to get a sense of what
That's the way I used to do it, stretching and folding in the bowl, which is great. I do wet hands and I kind of do these pull and fold overs like this. I find it's a little easier to feel what's happening sometimes. Like you're really getting your hands in the dough.
I know what you mean.
I just like it more.
I think it like, when you showed it to me a few months ago, it was like
look at this dough already versus this dough. I don't know. Not that you're not making good.
Are you dough shaming me? Is this?
This was my process for like 3 years.
I thought you started with the slap and fold, no?
It was a bit of a mix. And then once things get tight, just cover it. And we'll do that process 3 times generally over the next hour. So this is the last stretch and fold.
Well, we've all seen the stretch and fold, but have you heard of the spin and fold?
Whoa!
I did that. I don't know what it does, but I was just playing around one day. My dough started to fall, and I grabbed it back, and I was like, oh, I kind of like that. And we're good. While the dough chills out, we actually made a miso butter. This is one of my favorite things in the world. You pretty much just mix miso and butter. We actually added fermented garlic honey to kick it up a couple of notches, but the recipe is in my book along with a bajillion other things, so you can check it out. Now we're gonna make some miso butter. We add in a little fermented garlic honey. And then you put in your fresh miso. And that's pretty much all I know.
This I'm freaking out about. Miso fermented garlic honey butter. This is the initial taste.
It almost becomes like a cheese spread. It's crazy.
That's so true. I do find that homemade miso tastes like a funky cheese versus like a store-bought miso. He was saying it tastes like combos. I get that. Whoa, the combo cheese inside.
I put this on bread. Like, this is a showstopper. I gotta give Jeremy Umansky credit because he was the first one to tell me about it.
He's the king?
He's like, mix 50% butter, 50% miso, and just good night, good luck.
What in the hell is that? Show yours. There we go. Oh yeah.
Oh, let's see. The guest gets the good one.
Sometimes those are easy. I find those easier to work with. It's nice. It feels good. It feels good.
So are you a ball first kind of guy?
Yeah, like I do a pre-form.
Ball, yeah.
This is a pre-shapey. This dough's feeling really like. Usually you can kind of just tell what kind of sourdough you're gonna get.
You have a good technique.
Yeah, but there's
Doesn't have to be the
multiple
same
techniques. One thing we were just discussing with sourdough is it's not so much about a certain technique is the right way. You need good technique. Like that's,
But there's a lot of different types
but
of
there
good
are
technique.
different techniques to get you to the same goal, which is like a great loaf of sourdough. And I think Josh and I just the forming, the shaping, like you gotta find your own way with the dough. It's like you need to really have a relationship with your dough, and it can come in different forms. But it takes time to build that relationship. And like you've built your own certain form that makes amazing sourdough, and I've built mine. So find your own.
Find your own. Yeah, and I found that like a lot of people get intimidated by making sourdough because you go online and you see all these different things and there's a million steps, and it's like, you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Just get in there. So is your main intention to get tension on the
Yeah.
surface?
Right up into there. That one was a little weak.
Wow. That's crazy. Bingo. Let's see here. Yeah. Should let that sit a little bit.
Oh, you're gonna put the sesame in?
No.
You go with that?
Yeah.
Because I could shape it more.
We'll see what happens.
It's yeah, we'll see what happens. If that comes out, then you don't need technique to make sourdough bread. Or at least to form it.
I just gotta say, I know my forming did not look good, but he had home court advantage. Usually my forming is way considerably better, but just something about the moisture in the air and just a different location. But it was actually interesting, as you'll see in the video, we discovered something about form that no one ever talks about. Can you guess whose is whose?
We'll see how those bake off in the morning.
Look at that bread coming out of the refrigerator. Oh, it looks so fine. And all I really know is when I make my dough, I score it down the line. Making bread is oh so very nice. Making bread and baking it not once or twice. And all I really know is when I make my dough, it's so
Wow! Fuck yeah! That is a beautiful oven spring. All right, we'll set the timer for 20. We'll lower the temp. Wow! All right, Josh. Wow. His shitty forming, I mean, looks pretty good in the end.
Wow.
Look at that.
We're proving something, folks.
Does technique not matter?
Doesn't mean shit.
I mean, that's pretty solid.
Hey,
That's
you're
pretty
surprised.
fucking solid. Wow.
What? I also realized with I'm not used to so much moisture in the air, so it gets more sticky when I'm forming it. That's why.
Yeah. Exactly.
Wow.
I mean, it would be no different as being like an athlete and like playing in high altitude. It's like, whoa. All right, this is my loaf right here. Check it out, Judge it. Beautiful. Sesame. You don't have sesame, right?
No, I don't have sesame on this one.
And then this is Joshua.
What do you think? Mine looked a lot stickier.
Yeah, like.
Not as good forming. I'm used to the low moisture.
But they're pretty similar. Pretty similar. But the taste, different sourdough starters. Remember, that's kind of what we're after. We need to let these cool at least 20 minutes, at least.
And this is also like my starters from a mile high in the air, so.
Mile high, baby. Yeah. Let me see if the smell. It smells like delicious bread. Sweet baby Jesus. That's the crust I've ever seen.
Wow.
Ah!
Wow.
Holy
Guacamole.
Holy guacamole.
I'm so curious.
This is like the slice of heaven. All right, this is the Mike slice for judgment.
Nervous. It's like a black hole in there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Pretty damn good. Pretty
What
damn
do we
good.
think?
Okay, let's get the miso butter out.
Wow.
All right, so we're gonna taste each and see if there's any difference in flavor from different sourdough starters from different states.
Should I taste yours first? Wow, I already know like this is not at all what bread tastes like in Boulder. It's crazy.
Doesn't taste like
It's a completely different chew. Same ingredients. So let's see.
Tastes the same.
Nothing. Wow.
Nothing. Myth busted. Like these places that are museums for sourdough starters from all around the world, I don't think it matters at all because your sourdough starter adapts immediately to your environment.
That's my first feed too.
First feed. And I've been through this before too. I've taken my sourdough starter to California and it tastes like good San Francisco sourdough.
That's interesting.
Instantly. Yeah, so this myth of passing it down over time, it's all about your environment.
I think 2 myths were busted. Even the procedure.
Yeah,
We had
that's
very
true.
different procedures. And the breads are like
Very similar. Let's try it with this frickin' miso butter.
my favorite thing.
Miso butter. Wow. Nacho cheese.
Yeah, literally just mixing miso and butter 50-50. It's like this cheesy, funky spread.
Whoa. Oh my god. So salty.
Wow.
Cheese spread. That's what it is. It's funky cheese spread. It's like, that's so weird. Combos.
It tastes like combos.
Those combos. By far the closest thing.
And as,
Combo cheese spread.
and as we've learned, it's like a great marinade for meats. And you were saying putting in ramen.
Oh my god. Oh my dear god.
You know what the biggest difference with Colorado sourdough and this? There's like almost like a sponginess to the bread that I can't.
You know, a lot of people ask about high altitude baking. I get that question all the time.
Oh, like what? Yeah. I mean, you get used to wherever you are.
But it's totally possible. You make sourdough all the time.
I make sourdough all the
That's great.
time.
It's just different.
I found though when I was first starting out,
Yeah.
I didn't have a good starter, and somebody gave me a good starter, and the same process made a completely different bread. The biggest thing that I noticed when I was shaping it, while I was having some issues, is that we have a lot less moisture in the air, so the dough is like wetter and kind of felt stickier here, and I wasn't used to that. And you obviously have like a good way to shape it.
Home field advantage.
Home field advantage, but they're both great and they're unique.
All right.
All right. Welcome to Ricky's room. Uncle Ricky, back in action. It's good to be here, folks. It's been a long time. Many changes, many lifetimes. And I first off just want to say that I was a hot mess back in those days. I couldn't admit it. I was jealous of Mikey. Him and his brother Josh had that show, and they were doing well, and I just wanted a piece of the fame. And I hadn't healed the wounds inside of me yet. But I went away, deep far in the jungle. I drank the sacred medicines, and I saw the light. Hallelujah, I saw the light. So I'm back here today. Mikey, this is for you. You might not see this for a while. One day, though, you'll find this footage, and you'll remember me. I am Uncle Ricky. I am Uncle Roo. I am Uncle Me. And I am Uncle You. I have slept in the treetops, and I have drank the sacred drink, and I saw everything in the universe and consciousness. You know, I thought that I lost my mind, but it turned out that I saw the light. You know, I thought that I lost my mind, but then it turned out that I saw the light. So Mikey, this song's for you, and Josh, I hope you hear it too. I hope you forgive me someday for all the crazy things I did to you, like that time I peed in a corner, or surprised you with my crazy Uncle Ricky. But now I'm free. Now we can do it all over again. Will you say, would you be my friend? And now we can do it again. What do you say, Mikey? What do you say? See, I can sing the Kumbayas because I saw the light. Seen the light, Mike. I tell ya, you've always been